Hello, Drunkduckers. This is Ozone Ocean, and with me is Baines, Tance, and Gunwallace. Hello.
Hello.
Gunwallace, you have to say hello.
I'll do it. Hello.
Okay.
And hello. Back to mute.
Well, hello. This is Quackcast number 766, and this is called The Importance of Drawing Earnestly. Okay. Now, theme song.
Wow.
Now we're back. Alright, so we're talking about the importance of drawing earnestly, which means basically we're talking about there's AI is people are using that for a lot of stuff, like for artwork, for graphic design, for even for writing, and come out with ideas. And so this Quackcast is the importance of adding your own personal touches to things. And for personalizing stuff in this world, and it's especially important in this world now more than ever, because you see a lot of there was this huge resurgence of the arts and crafts and personally created stuff at the end of the 1990s in a lot of ways, and people were making their own things and doing their own production. And when AI came along, that was kind of taking away from that again. This personally created wave of stuff is really massively taking things back to a more kind of a personal approach, and for small production and things, and it just looked incredible. But now we've got the AI stuff, and it's making things more bland, more kind of generic, and it's making the world a bit more boring. So anyway, we'll get back into that in the actual class itself. But first, I have to have Quackcast say, talking about Trip and Tessa.
Hello, this is Quackcast, and the feature I've selected for this week is Trip and Tessa by Aeon Blue 90, and it is rated M for mature. Tessa Marie Hartley, with a dream to become a marine vet, had always wanted to see a mermaid. Splash was Tessa's favorite movie, after all. 13 years have passed after a barracuda attack caused Safi to lose an engagement ring. It was around the same time that Tyrus Narayan, known as Trip, made the acquaintance of Tessa. Born 15 minutes apart, Tyrus's older brother, Raekwyn, maintained the rigid past between Cyrenians and humans. Swim with the angelic jellyfish, and read Trip and Tessa by Aeon Blue 90, rated M.
Thank you very much for talking about that, Quackcast. Okay, so now we have Gunwallace with his featured music. And Gunwallace, did you want to perform something live, or should we go to the best of? I don't think that you can perform something live. You're put on the spot, so that's a bit unfair.
It's a bit hard to do on an electric instrument. That isn't
multiple tracks.
Exactly. You need a full orchestra.
I have an untuned ukulele over there. I could play on that. But that would be really bad. It is very out of tune at the moment.
I personally couldn't tell. When people tune stuff, it's like...
Oh, you could tell that.
Alright, we'll do a best of. And the best of I want to do today is Awfully Decent Fellows, which was an Iron Scarf comic and a fantastic theme. So now...
comic.
It was.
Awfully Decent Fellows. Okay, that was our reprise of Awfully Decent Fellows. Now we're going to talk about AI versus the personal touch, basically. Don't you guys find with a lot of AI stuff, basically with all the AI stuff, it really creates a generic mix, a melange of things. It's a generic bland blend of the most kind of averaged out stuff of anything that the topic that it's meant to be about. It's just the most plain, boring kind of presentation, and it makes anything generic. So that's the end product of it. So, and if, say, you ask, like, you Google AI a question, it always comes up with basically something that's sourced from a whole bunch of sources, and it gives you the averaged kind of answer. And it's quite often wrong, because it, the average answer includes just as many wrong things and right things. So, yeah. But when you're doing something more creative, it produces something that's passable and would look good to, and it would read good to the average person. But it's just slightly too generic and slightly too bland. Don't you find that, guys?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know how much of what I'm reading online is AI, and how much isn't these days.
I believe I can always tell, especially with news stories and things like that, when I see someone's like art, artwork in inverted commas, or when I see this AI stuff that automatically comes up on all your stupid apps and stuff like that. AI comes up with suggestions and says, "Let me reword this for you," and it's something that's totally generic, and it almost applies, but doesn't quite. And that's basically a trait of AI. Because it averages things out, it can't add that kind of personal spice, personal touch to things. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to talk about in the Quackcast. Like, basically the personal spice that individuals add to things, and why we should always celebrate that and not just fall into the comfortable embrace of something that's made for us.
Well, honestly, something that's made for you is not something you made. It's as simple as that. And I am absolutely against generative AI, which is also generic, because first of all, especially when it comes to text, it is very often wrong. The ideas don't make sense. The coherence is weird. There is a range of a very narrow range of quality that is really subpar, and there is no personality to the writing.
Yeah, that's a very important remark. Personality.
But I mean, hasn't that kind of writing been around even before supposed AI? I mean, the BuzzFeed articles, the
The
7 things that you can't explain in this photo kind of
It
stuff.
has been around, and it has always been bad. So those
Yes,
are good examples of why that generic stuff is so terrible.
I would suggest that while it's bad writing, it was human bad writing in the sense that you could tell, at least for me, because I have written articles like that for pay. Like, I have been commissioned to write, 6 things that blah, 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 or 10 things that must know about your dog, stuff like that.
Oh,
Yeah, you might be reading stuff that I wrote that you don't, that I never sign, of course, for obvious reasons. But there is a specific difference between different humans writing generic stuff versus a machine writing generic stuff. The human is going to be referencing real things, first of all. Even if they do it in a fashion that is subpar. And every person, when they write a text, they tend to have specific turns of phrase that are theirs. You can see like a sort of slow, like a subtle repetition in a text that it has been written by a human, a cadence, if you like, that is very specific to whoever is writing.
Yeah,
the
they
thing.
have a quirk. Like they'll say, like all the
And
time.
even
Or,
yeah. If it is
You know.
even if it is a bad article,
yeah.
even if it is a bad article, you can tell that it was written by this one person that really likes using ellipses, for example, or really likes starting with a question, or what have you.
I like a semicolon. I use them a lot.
Yeah, me too. I like semicolons a lot, and I also like the single hanging sentence between paragraphs. I really like that. I overuse it without any shame. So yeah, I prefer to read a bad article by a human than a bad article by a machine, because the machine will not have these things. It is like a primordial soup of different things.
So I don't know if I'm looking close enough then. I just go, oh yeah, this is on a topic I kind of like. I'll read it and then go, I have no idea if that was a person or not.
Yeah.
But it reinforced my worldview, so there you go. I'm done.
Yeah, I understand. Still, I mean, it's if you craft words, I guess it stands out. Like for me, it's harder nowadays to tell if a picture is AI or not. I have to look really close to it, or it must be that very sepia tone, weird, heavy line work style that is very AI, that immediately screams AI.
Yeah.
I can tell if something's AI, like most of the time, almost like 100% of the time, just because, I'm classically trained artist, and I can usually tell people's...
That needs a real world test, man. That needs a real world test.
I can usually tell people's personal input versus something that has been mechanically created, just because there's repeating things that have been used quite currently all the time. If something's too perfect in a lot of ways, there's a lot of quirks and stuff and styles,
or too many details in things that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah,
as well.
Well, that would be a giveaway. Yeah, for a lot of the.
There's and there are current styles that just repeat and repeat from the current generations of AI. So when people were producing art a few years ago with it, then there was the too many fingers kind of stuff, and then there was the artwork that all looked like it was that crappy DeviantArt kind of artwork that exploded everywhere when you had these millions and millions of people doing this very super generic fantasy artwork that had basically no meaning, and it included bits and pieces from many different genres, and it had this particular kind of brushwork and all that kind of stuff. That's what really blew up on AI, and AI was using that because there was just so much of it. And AI basically just goes to whatever is the most popular thing and repeats it. Whereas artwork created by humans doesn't always go to the blandness. See, what I'm saying with that DeviantArt style that exploded, it was super popular and everyone was doing it. So, yeah, AI picked up that because it was the most popular style, and so it was going on and on and on and on and on, and it's basically what Gunwallace said before about, but what's the difference between this early these BuzzFeed articles and that's a really good point, because even back then, when that DeviantArt stuff was created by humans, it was frickin' boring and it was frickin' bland, because these, like, I think it was basically a bunch of, like, thousands and thousands of these Chinese people were producing this artwork because it was a way to make money. So they were just doing this bland kind of human robot kind of stuff because they wanted to flood DeviantArt and get lots of advertising revenue and make, it was a way to make money. So I think they were even, like, people were being paid to do that. So they were basically human AI. And the same with these BuzzFeed articles. BuzzFeed is like the turds. This is like the swill. This is the bilge of the internet. And that was done to make as much money as possible, because people like stupid lists, And
it does feel a little like AI is for people that find that Fiverr was too expensive.
Exactly. It's just, yeah, it was the crap underfoot, and that is basically the kind of stuff that the AI is very similar to, because that's just all around. And AI uses that as its fuel, not only because it's everywhere and it's these kind of free model engines love to just eat up as much kind of content as they can. It's because that doing a representation of this is what AI thinks that most people want to see, because it's everywhere. So it's like those two things. Not only is it everywhere that it eats it, it's everywhere. So AI thinks, oh, this is what people want to see. This is normal human stuff, because that's what's most produced. So I'll just go and produce that. So anyway, you end up getting stuff that's very generic and very bland and very anodyne. And that spiciness, that individuality, that excitingness, the errors, the mistakes, the real kind of human-generated crap-ups aren't in the AI stuff. And that's what makes this human stuff way more interesting and way more kind of endearing, I think.
I would even say that the human slop versus AI slop, let's put it that way, is better. I would still say that it's still better. Aside the elements of it put food on the table for people or whatever, let's forget about the whole economics thing. No matter how generic and how everyone imitates everyone else's style. I remember there was this style that was super in vogue, that had these huge eyes, like it was an anime style with huge eyes, very glossy lips and blush.
Yeah, I know it.
I don't know what I'm referring
Makes
to.
me want to kill myself when I look at it.
Like a glass face,
Oh
or
my
I don't know.
God.
I don't remember.
Even though my memory now is making me feel sick.
Yeah. Personally, I don't like that style. I hate it, honestly.
Yes.
Like you. However, when I was actually forced to look at because I was watching a YouTube video on this issue and different versions of this kind of style flashed on the screen. And they looked very generic, very similar to each other. Still, though, you could tell that it was different artists that made it. And I think that this kind of individuality is precious and should be cherished. And even in the slop, you will find, you might want a generic knight riding, I don't know, a horse or whatever, a dragon. And yeah, AI is going to make you this epic, fully rendered version of this knight. But aside the issues that will not make sense, because again, the composition will not have been made by logic. Like a human will not have positioned this dragon and knight in 3D space. It will just be an average of how it is normal, like usually most typically positioned, according to the prompt. So that the machine will not know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah.
There will also be, like the person that will be making that slop of the knight with the dragon, it will be their idea of, oh, what is the generic dragon? This dude with the red scales, wings, whatever, but it's going to be made in my style. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Particular stuff.
So, yeah, I think that is precious and should be preserved in all kinds of arts.
Yeah, there's yeah, like the way I will draw a knight is based on whatever is the most popular way of drawing knights at the time. And say, you know, the way I will draw like a Spartan hoplite is the most average of how those things are depicted. And at the moment, that will be something in the 300. You know, they'll have one of those crappy helmets with the square eye holes and the awkward shape, and it'll just be reproducing those stupid movie errors over and over and over. And so it's reproducing mistakes and crappiness, and it floods out, you know, the reality and the good design of people who have actually done the research and, you know what this stuff looks like. That's a really interesting thing too, because people are now producing more and more really crappy fake history images, because whatever's popular and whatever people make money off, scum kind of pieces of crap people will try and get in on that using AI and just blast out a whole lot of generic crap to horn in on that. And one of those things is historical images, because there's a lot of popular like Instagram accounts and things that actually earn revenue, because these interesting creators will, you know, source images from all over the place that are historical and want to show that. And what these, like, I'll swear, I'll say these shitheads do is they use AI to create fake historical images. Even when they're not being like absolute shitheads and faking it, they're still thinking they're clever by doing, you know, funny images that are like a mix-up that show, like, say, the DeLorean being dug up by a bunch of miners from the 1890s. You know, because, okay, what happens in Back to the Future 3? The DeLorean gets lost in the 1800s. I can't remember when. And then it gets buried in a mine. And then it gets... it gets buried in a train tunnel, I think. And then it gets dug up in, I don't know, 1980s or something. Whenever Back to the Future 3 was done. And I saw this stupid AI generated image, and I had this bunch of miners all standing around this DeLorean in a dug up train tunnel, and it was black and white, and it looked like a real photo from the 1890s. But when you look closely, when a smart person looked closely at all these miners standing around this DeLorean, which, you know, to like like the average dummy would think, oh yeah, that's an amazing picture AI created. But I look at that and think, okay, hang on. Half of these guys are wearing flat caps. Some of them are wearing 1890s miner helmets. But most of these people are wearing this weird mashup of a flat cap and a miner helmet that's kind of just blended in. Like they're wearing these flat caps with, you know, the light on the front of them, which flat caps never ever have because they collapse. And then they're wearing like weird metal flat caps that kind of go around, and they have these lights on the front. And it's because AI was taking big pictures of like the average 1920s look of, you know, working class people. So that's men in flat caps and, you know, simple suits. and the average look of miners, where they have these ribbed kind of weird metal helmets, and it's blending them together because it doesn't understand there's a difference. So that was a perfect example of the just weird fantasies that AI comes up with because it can't really understand reality. And that really...
yeah, it's like...
Oh, God.
Like context of real life is where it falls down. In text, even if it's a long enough thing you're reading, it'll start to feel like, okay, this is just either written really thoughtlessly or it's AI because it's like it has no bearing on reality. It's kind of there's no context for life in this article, in this sentence, or whatever. And the same in pictures where you have images like you're talking about, or like you said, the multiple fingers or eyes in the wrong, or like say the headlamp is up on top maybe, or something weird like that will happen. I made an image once of a motel, and it had like staircases that went to nowhere. The doors were outside the staircase.
To be fair, I have seen hotels that do that. So.
Like the Winchester Mansion Hotel.
And let's not even go into the whole politics thing. AI in a video now being used to forward certain ideas and stuff. Like there were some AI videos that made the rounds while the whole snap argument was going on in the States, where they had these so-called welfare queen moms that were freaking out on camera about not being able to do outrageous things using SNAP benefits, which of course is wrong. And if you looked at the background of this AI video, you had because she was surrounded by either a super messy room or kids that were unruly and crying. Although a kid was missing his arms, one was missing his head. The head was a little further to the side.
Oh, that poor kid. You should be getting...
Yeah, that's terrible. Man.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
So they really needed those benefits, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Oh, God.
Well, at Ozon's prompt, I stuck into an AI anime generator, Spartan Hoplite. I sent you the result. It's very generic, but it isn't quite as bad as you might think. The lighting is terrible because the sun is at his back, but he's well lit from the front.
And his armor is completely...
But, in an anime style, that's not too shabby, I suppose.
Yeah, it's an anime style, but yeah, it's absolutely everything is wrong. It's even got a Japanese building in the background.
It does have a Japanese building.
It's got a pagoda building. Oh dear.
But see, I'd watched the anime, so...
And he has his sword on the back of his shield on his back. So there we are.
Where is that sword attached?
It's... Yeah.
I don't think it is. I think it just sort of hovers.
It's magnetized to the back of his back.
Oh, that'll be it. Magnetized.
And why like if he's a Greek hoplite, why is there a Chinese style roof behind him?
Yeah, that's what we were saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because in this anime, a Spartan warrior has been transported into 16th century Japan and is having to team up with a Ronin and save some village from something.
Yeah. And on the way to the 16th century, he picked up a 16th century knight's breastplate.
Well, yeah, of course he did.
I don't know if you mentioned that, but he's naked underneath that baldric.
Oh, he's too.
Although he has a...
It's curious, yeah.
I'm assuming Yeah, I'm assuming that he has like a silk scarf around his neck.
So there you go.
Yes.
Here's an image.
Oh my goodness me, it's even worse than
Yeah.
I could possibly
The shield
imagine.
the shield doesn't continue beyond his arm, by the way.
No.
Yes, but I just keep on coming back to this thing that the Gunwallace said about the buzz feeds and how we already had this, and we did have this in anime already. There is already a bunch of that, like Gunwallace says, that could almost be a crappy anime because we do have humans producing that kind of crap already, and people might say, well, how is AI any different? Well, it's not. Just as that BuzzFeed stuff was bad. Well, I mean, yeah, Chance, you're right, it is. But it's also, in some ways, it's not as well. In some ways, it's the same kind of thing. Because in that BuzzFeed stuff was crap, as is this AI stuff. And that kind of generic, like artwork, animation stuff, is actually still being produced now, and it's still crap. Versus, it's like Isekai. Yeah. Isekai became like, with Sword Art Online, it became super popular. Like Isekai had been around before that, of course, but with Sword Art Online, it just had massively popular. So then everybody jumped on the bandwagon and produced some really good Isekai, and now the market has been massively flooded by absolute generic turds. Almost every Isekai thing you watch is just the bottom of the barrel idiot stuff, right? So that's like AI generated stuff. It's equivalent to that kind of generic level. I mean,
I would bet you that there is no bottom of the barrel scraping like underneath the barrel.
I'm not directly comparing it to
No,
I'm not saying there's no difference. I'm saying it's like that. It's like an analog.
I know, but I just want to make a specific point and why this is worse. It's not even the same. Is that even the underneath the juice underneath the bottom of the barrel would not have a shield that is underneath the sword and doesn't finish. And why am I focusing on that? Like he could be naked underneath his cuirass or baldric or whatever it is, fine, but he would be consistently naked. And the issue that I take issue with one specific thing. The human eye is trainable, and the more that you see this illogical thing, the more the eye learns to accept it. So you train your eye to accept illogical things. And it might sound that it's like nothing serious or nothing too consequential, but it is, because you teach people to accept illogical things in general. And that is detrimental, not only in whatever, critical thinking there is left in humanity, but there is also a problem in creativity afterwards. And I don't right now have studies to prove it, but I'm pretty sure that if I said, I would find enough to show that people that are consuming AI art on the regular and more like without at least some kind of counterbalance of human art are far less likely to pick up stuff, to notice stuff, to question stuff. Like they become more passive. Your brain becomes more passive, accepts more things. Your eyes, the perception in your eyes, your perception become worse.
Okay.
And that's why it is terrible.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That's it lowers your abilities to be able to recognize why something is good when you become too inured to that blandness. I just wanted to say though that I just want to get back to the fact that we have this generic, like my example of the isekai, this generic kind of crap, and I bring that up because like people's lust to easily people's lust to get on bandwagons and try and make very like a cheap buck out of something that's popular is similar to what people do with AI. And what did that do to isekai? It basically destroyed it. It's like you wouldn't want to watch a lot of isekai now because it's just that kind of like genre is like so full with crap. It's hard to find anything good in it. It took over a lot of anime too, so a lot of anime at the moment is represented by masses of that crap. So it made the whole thing less interesting, as AI tends to do with whatever people use it for. It makes it less interesting because it is now represented just by this generic slop. Like it makes older images, like if people want to search for historical images, less interesting because there's so much of this generic stuff. It makes like recipes online or certain sorts of news stories that are generated by AI. They just become too generic and too crap, and it makes them less interesting. It makes looking at fantasy art, like what I was saying with the DeviantArt back in the day when it became flooded by all this cheap, I wouldn't say cheap, but all this very similar kind of styled artwork that came out of these mass-produced Chinese kind of human factory. It made DeviantArt look less interesting. If Drunkduck was flooded by a lot of comics that were created by AI, which heaven forbid that will never happen, but
No.
you wouldn't want to look at webcomics anymore, would you? Because they would tend to look, very generic and very kind of similar, and without that kind of spiciness that people have, that people introduce.
And like the idea that it would sap the will of people to even want to make stuff, like to write anymore and draw, or to do to make the effort to learn how to do that stuff. No one will know how to do it or be bothered to learn how to do it. It's a scary thought.
It's definitely that, yeah. Like, I will never, ever go for this idea of, what is it, like the Simpsons thing, when the giant ants take over and Kent Brock or whatever he is says.
Brockman.
Yeah, Brockman. I
for one welcome you and take over, Lord.
Exactly.
Just instantly bows down.
Yes. Or the Hypnotoad in Futurama. I support the Hypnotoad.
Oh, glory.
Oh, glory to the Hypnotoad. Yeah. I'll never do that with her. Because I don't have this, like, that people say, oh, the genie's out of the bag now, you can't stop it, blah, blah, blah. That's not how reality works. Reality doesn't actually work as a linear progression from here to there to here to there. Things don't continue on in a straight line. Things branch out and things die off and other things take over and things get reborn, and it's like reality is messy. It's like evolution. Evolution has never ever been a straight progression of simple single-celled organism to massively super complicated elephant, and it was heading that way like all along. It had this secret kind of end goal to produce an elephant. That's not how evolution works. Evolution is a bunch of changes and changes and changes and changes, and sometimes changes can produce this strange creature, and that strange creature isn't an endpoint. That strange creature might develop into a whale, or that strange creature might develop into a crab.
Yeah, no, people do seem to decide that because history is the way it is, it's the only way it could be.
Exactly.
Like people who say, "Oh, well, there's no alternative to capitalism because it's the only way it could be," and they're not even arguing the same types of capitalism.
Yeah.
Precisely. We look at something that's created and then we justify why it's created and think, yes, this is like America is the greatest country in the world and will always be the greatest country, and because we are the greatest, we should be the greatest. Whereas, accidents of history result in various things, and that is only a temporary spot in time. And to get onto the why I'm saying that is, yes, there is no, just because AI is all the rage at the moment and people are using it, does not mean that will continue into the future. There are certain things that AI requires, massive databases that are trained on various things, huge companies that are running that, a lot of processing power on computers. Maybe that there is the needs of AI to use all that processing power will maybe decrease, and maybe you could have an AI model running on your own computer. Maybe it can be trained with your own stuff. Who knows? But if it is trained on your own stuff, then that will be totally different to the generic stuff that is, run by these massive corporations. That's trained by billions of stolen artworks. If it's trained on your own stuff, that will be an amazing change, and that will be totally different. Oh, Gunwallace, no?
I do know somebody that has done that for their art style. They basically bought access to an AI and they trained it specifically on their style of art, and it allows them to do animation of their art style. They'll draw the key panels and then the AI fills it all in between. It basically is the in-betweener. And it allows them to make money out of their art because selling single panels wasn't really getting them anywhere. But offering slightly raunchy animated versions of what he's done is making him a living. So,
there you go. See, that's taking it away from the crap of AI, which is the generic slop of an average of a billion creators, and an artist being able to use it as their own tool, which makes it far more interesting and far more usable. And that is completely different. See, that's when, an idiot might look at that and think, yeah, but what's the difference? It's still AI. No, it's a completely different thing, because that is an individualized piece of work. And you can recognize that person's style versus this generic kind of slop, which is based on millions of things, as well as being created from 100% stolen IP. So that is when AI becomes actually useful. And that's a great example of why it's not a genie out of the bottle. So, yeah, perfect, Gunwallace. I like that. We've only got 5 minutes left, but that's, I think that kind of sums up.
will just say something about genies out of bottles. There was a time, if you remember, I think it was called Netscape or something similar to that, sharing music with Napster. Thank you. So that was a genie that was out of the bottle, and it got right back in there. So
I like how you said Napscape. So that's like the AI version of what happens.
Coming back out though. I mean, all of that pirating stuff went away due to streaming of both music and video. But now that those companies have managed to become evil and fragmented again, everyone's going back to pirating.
Well, yeah, it's not a genie out of bottle because it's not just one way. It's not just this is the new reality. The reality changes and mutates, and yes, it can come back out depending on its need, but it's not just like a linear thing. So yeah, that's a good example of that. That the reality is mixable and changeable. So yeah, we should never. That's basically I would say a logical fallacy, probably an informal logical fallacy. When people think, "Oh yes, genie out of the bottle, that's how it's going to be," but no, that doesn't actually happen that way.
I dream of Jeannie. So.
Yeah, I'd like to get into her bottle. Barbara Eden is the only genie in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The immortal Barbara Eden, who is fantastic and beautiful, and super tall, by the way, according next to me anyway.
Really?
Yes. Oh my God, she towered over me when I met. I thought, oh my, what the hell? That's not how I remember you. Maybe Larry Hagman was a giant or something. I don't know. But she is, wow. So yes.
Oh, did Larry Hagman from Dallas was on that
You
show?
didn't know? Oh God,
Yeah.
yes.
No, I didn't know it was the same guy.
Major
I think
Healy.
he is. He was. Oh.
Yeah, and that was his best showing. He was way better in that than Dallas. Way better. He's not pretending to be, Mr. Southern Texas, whatever. He had his real accent. He was really good. Well. Here we are on the mixed up AI cast because I fell asleep, guys, and did not wake up. I was super late today, and my brain is still scrambled. So, yeah. Thank you very much.
So this is technically a role-playing session. So good work, guys.
Yes, oh my God. Next up, roleplay video. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody. This is Quackcast number 766.
I waved again.
Bye.